Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be with you today. My name is Haifa Bint-Kadi. I'm the curator of the Riverfront Art Gallery at the Yonkers Riverfront Library Branch. I'm so honored to be presenting today the art of Bill Melvin, whose work is currently in our show, Come Fly With Me. And it's really a show not to be missed. If you haven't been to the gallery yet, please come down and visit the show. It's up for another week until March 18th, and you can come in any time during library hours. But today we have the artist with us, and it's really a special treat to have you here. I'm so honored to be showing your work, and I'm so honored to be speaking with you today. This is going to be an exciting afternoon. So, Mr. Melvin, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting us hang your work here.
Oh, it's a real privilege. I've had a couple other shows, but this is the best so far. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's during the pandemic, but and we have restrictions, but it's a privilege and an honor to have such a. That all started when I was just a kid because we didn't have rock and roll people in those days, and the real stars for were aviators, like famous names like Jimmy Doolittle and Roscoe Turner, Amelia Earhart, and Lindbergh, of course. They were the rock stars in those days, and everything was airplanes. Their models were in the hardware stores. You could buy models and put them together.
Let me just give our audience a little bit of information. Mr. Melvin is an aviation artist. He does aviation art in watercolor and in ink.
Yeah.
When you see this work, you would think it was printed because it's so detailed. And I would love to hear you, Mr. Melvin, tell us what drove your passion. Were you always interested in airplanes?
Well, yes. Since I was a kid, my dad would go to the Cleveland Air Races, and that's where a lot of these so-called rock stars were. Like Jimmy Doolittle would fly a fat little plane and race around these pylons, and that was exciting. And of course, it got a lot of acclaim, the Cleveland Air Races, and my dad could go to them, and he would bring home stuff, and I just airplanes just grabbed me. I just had to draw airplanes and war stuff.
So when you were young, you started working from the time you were small and you were drawing airplanes?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. I ventured into a few things like baseball players, the little sketches. I don't know whether those can be seen. Oh, probably. Let's see. Oh, I think my mother dated some of the. Well, these my mother dated. Fortunately, she saved everything, and she was one of my biggest fans. These are 1947, and I had gotten out of high school. I was too young for World War II, but I was drawing warplanes and the whole war all the time. And
so besides the baseball players, you drew the airplanes, the baseball players. Was there anything else that you drew?
yeah, some cars, just a few modern cars, but mostly I was interested in drawing wars, soldiers fighting the Japanese, and I did a lot of that, and airplanes bombing the Japanese and bombing. I mean, the war was a big thing in those days. I was really into World War II and some World War One too. But so I just was drawing all the time. I don't know why. I just kind of.
But now at 91, you're still doing airplanes.
Oh yeah.
Now some people, not me, Some people might say that you're obsessed with airplanes,
Oh,
but what I would like to know is what kept it going? What was the motivation for continuing with airplanes?
well, I got better and better all the time. Even though some of my stuff from 1947 is relative to some of the stuff I'm doing today, the toning and all the shadowing and everything. I knew how to do that. I learned it from some artists that were mentors for me.
So did you study art? Was that
just at a night school at Central Art Academy in Cincinnati?
okay?
And I just, all I wanted to do was airplanes. A few other things. I've done some animals. You may have seen some photographs of some
Yes.
animals I did. But mostly airplanes. I don't know why, but just I was fascinated by them.
So after art school, what happened?
Then I got a job as an office boy in an advertising agency, and within a year, I had showed enough ability to move into their art department.
Is that because you were drawing airplanes on everybody's mail?
No, we had to do advertising things. They would be signs. A lot of the work I did appeared on the Midwestern Hayride, the TV program, country western stuff.
Okay.
And it would be beer commercials, and we would do things relative, all kinds of items that would portray a beer. In most cases, Bavarian beer was big in those days, and we would do props. And
like relatively soon, you jumped into your career. Well, you were always an artist, but you soon made a career out of doing art.
Yes. And then I had some teachers in the art business who taught me lettering. Now, lettering is so important for these airplanes.
Yes.
You just can't just rough it in. It's got to be exact.
Yes.
Insignias have to be oval, and everything has to be perfect. And the lettering has to be sharp. And I learned all that. And then I phased into packaging design for Procter & Gamble and Dracket Company.
What a career.
Well, it was all advertising material, but lettering is 90% of packaging, because the main product is, whether it's Cheer or Tide or Head and Shoulders, everything was lettering. You had to get the message over, and that was my forte.
Do you know what I find so interesting about that is that I teach young artists, and they often tell me that their families are discouraging because they think you can't make a career out of art. But I love your story because you really did make a career out of art.
Oh, it just kind of happened. I started as an office boy. I was delivering packages to Kroger Company and scripts for the radio programs, all those daily radio programs. I would take scripts of things like that, and then I showed some aptitude for the other drawing shows. They put me in the art department. Now, and from there, they had a fellow coming back from the service, and he had to be drafted. So they brought him back in, and they moved me to Kroger Company up the street.
Okay.
And I was there for same thing, advertising, art.
Okay.
And then from there I went to studios, where we provided artwork for P&G. I didn't actually work for P&G. I worked for 3 or 4 different, maybe 5 over the 45 years.
What kind of artwork was that?
Well, that was packaging.
Okay.
Yes, lettering, primarily lettering, and some illustration, but it was all related to PNG packages or Dracket
Okay.
Twinkle or their different products for for bathrooms and things of that nature.
So one thing, and this is a question that many have asked me that have come to see the show, is, where did you get your body of information about planes? I know that you love drawing them and that you're fascinated by aviation, but what's your research process? How do you get the details so correct?
All these paintings are inspired from a magazine picture.
Okay.
And I would take that picture and make it to the right size, and then I go into the actual drawing of that airplane. I take a print from a calendar, or most of the time magazines would feature these airplanes. I had aviation magazines just all over. I grew up with aviation magazines and model aviation, and the artists on the model aviation magazine inspired me.
Okay.
And from there, I just continued. Well, all my stuff comes from magazines.
So is that even your current work?
Yes.
Also comes from magazines?
Everything here comes from a picture in a magazine.
I know at 91, you're still creating art.
Oh, yes.
I know that you're still going strong and steady.
I have one of my latest.
Yes, I think this would be a really great time to show that piece.
This is my latest one.
Okay.
Now this was done from a magazine picture from the United States Air Force Museum in Dayton, and this they had it out on the runway, and it's an experimental plane, and it just fascinated me to do my drawing on it. Now it was from a photograph, and I do a lot of the stuff. I don't make solid colors and everything.
But I noticed that one now this one does not have a background, but that one does have a background.
I've been doing more backgrounds lately.
Okay.
And that requires some extra work because I do when I do my drawings, I will take the picture out of the magazine and I'll get it photographed at a print store, and then from there I trace it. I put it on a light table.
So yeah, you can show us your process if you would. We'd love to see what your process is. Everybody's always interested to see how artists work.
Now this is a tracing pad. I use
but before you start, I just have to ask you one thing. It's a burning question.
Okay.
Some artists have a ritual before they go into their studio and begin to work. Do you have any kind of ritual, something that you do that says, okay, now I'm going to begin to work?
Well, I just need to find a picture. That's all I need. That's all I need. And this is one I took out of a magazine.
Okay.
And it's a 1930 airplane.
Okay.
I do a lot of those.
Okay.
And then this trace is a tracing. I put this tracing paper over it on a light table.
Okay.
And that's how I get this drawing here. And from this tracing, I transfer down to illustration board.
Okay.
Not watercolor paper.
How do you transfer it? Do you use copy paper
carbon.
Carbon?
I use a pencil carbon.
Okay.
That I've made with carbon stick.
Okay.
And I will transfer this down to the board, and then after I have the lines down on the board, I take a pen, and
Oh, you brought the pen. Great.
Well, yes. Wait,
okay.
That's not it. Oh wait, I guess I put it in the. Anyway, I use what is called a micron.
Oh, I know those pens.
Okay, all right.
What point micron do you like?
005.
005. Love that one.
Yeah, well, that's when then I ink everything in
Okay.
on the illustration board, and then it's like a coloring book.
Right.
From there, I put the color in right on the over the ink drawing.
So can I show that? I'd love to just show the tracing next to one of your pieces, because this isn't just something that you could trace and have it come out perfect. It goes from a tracing to all of that.
Yeah, then
and that's where all the artistry comes in.
You don't see the lines once I've painted it in. It's like a coloring book.
Yes.
But you have to stay inside the lines. And then if I want to do a background, like some of these, like this one here is a background. When I have just the line drawing here, and there's the line drawing for this, I do a frisket, what we call it was rubber cement, and you cover up all this plane and this one.
Yes.
And then.
So you don't use a masking fluid. You use rubber cement.
It's called frisket.
Oh, so okay, all right. I'm familiar with that.
Very careful. You want to get it real close in here, and it spreads. It paints in just like water. And then from there, I could put the sky in here.
Okay.
Well, I take a sponge, a wet sponge, and go over this area here. All this is covered. All this is covered with frisket. And I wipe the sponge over there to give it a wet surface.
Okay.
Then I take the other watercolor on
I'd love to see the watercolors that you use. You know, artists always want to know what other artists use.
Well, I use very small brushes.
And Mr. Melvin, I just have to.
I'll use that for the background.
Okay, and so that's what you're putting the wash of water on.
Color and wash it right across the whole thing there with where there's already been wet with the sponge.
Okay.
And it just kind of blends, and that's what makes the clouds.
Yes.
And these are the watercolors. These are the watercolors here.
Okay.
And it's got 2 layers of just I could do anything with just these watercolor cakes.
Okay.
And these are called pelican colors.
All right.
And it has every color I need. I mix. If I want an olive drab, I have to mix that.
Right.
And for some of these things here, and all the drawing and stuff.
So do you I know that you do ink at the beginning,
yes.
But do you ever, after all the watercolor is on, do you ever go back over with the ink pen?
Occasionally, yeah. But I do all the pen and ink work with guides. These are oval templates. Okay. And I mean, wheels are, when you see a wheel, it's not a circle.
Right.
You have to use a template. These I can usually match these up.
What shape does that get used for? What does that shape get used for?
This is for drawing the wheels.
That's for the wheels. Okay.
I very seldom freehand anything.
Okay.
I mean, you could say. I can't. A person could say I can't draw a straight line, but you can with these. And an airplane is not a watercolor of the seaside or a woods scene.
Yeah, you have to be really precise.
Airplanes are already accurate. You know, you do curves. You use curves to get, and you draw with these pens, and you use triangles for the straight edges.
Okay.
Wherever it might be straight there. Then you use the curves for for the bottom of there, but everything has to be precise.
Well, I hope everybody that is thinking that they might go into drawing or doing watercolor of planes is making a list of all your supplies, because you're just letting us know all your secrets.
Well, that's the way I do it. Now, somebody else might have another approach, but mine is for detail and for even straight lines, and all these things here are drawn with the straight edges on that were redone with this.
Now, I noticed that, so in that watercolor, for example, some of your lines are white. What do you do the white lines with?
Oh, those are highlights, yes. I paint in the color, and then you have to come back in with an opaque white.
Okay.
And that will be maybe to get these highlights on these struts that hold the wings on. In these cases, where you would have struts, they're older planes that naturally have struts, and you put the white, you put water and white together in a rolling pen, and then you just rule along this line here to get that highlight in there.
Okay.
You got to have highlights. You got to have darks
absolutely,
and highlights. And when I do the wing on this one would have photographed black, but I say it gets reflections.
Yes.
I don't put a black wing in there. I put highlights in it, like there's reflections. Reflections are important, and I put it on with a real light wash of gray.
Okay.
And then I build
over
it up.
The black, yeah.
And then when you want a darker shadow, you go do a black shadow, or loaded up with black.
So that brings me to want to ask you, how long generally does it take to do a complete work from beginning to end?
Yeah, it's too hard to keep track of the time. 2 hours here, 2 hours there. I might spend 2 hours just on the cockpit.
Okay.
To get the pilot right. And,
do you think in a month, if we put you in your studio, gave you all your supplies, and said, come out in a month with a finished plane, would a month be enough time?
Very likely, yes.
Okay.
Most of them would take, like that one there took about 20 days.
Right? This is your latest work?
That's the very latest.
And what's next?
Well, this one here is next.
Okay. So that's a work in progress.
Number 200.
Oh, wow.
Since 2007. A lot of this artwork was done before that in the 70s. And some of it even in 1947. But this is just a carryover with, I guess you get practice, and then sometimes I pick out the subject. I don't know, how am I going to do that? And I can't tell until I get into it. And I say, how am I going to handle that? And pretty soon it just sort of comes out of my hands, and I put it right on the board there. And you have to be, with watercolor, you have to be courageous. Because you can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid of it.
Yes. So true.
I'll use rulers and stuff to do the gray area here, or curves to do some of the gray areas, and then
So is there going to be a special celebration after you finish number 200?
Oh.
What are you going to do? Are you going to throw a party, or?
I'll just go on to the next one. No. There would be
Move on to the next one.
Nothing, no celebrations. I can't wait to get started on another one.
Now, I know that various of your children have your, and I just have to say that Mr. Melvin is the father of our beloved Susan Thaler. And so that's another reason why we just wanted to, we love that we're getting Susan back in the building. That's been like a special treat of having you hang in the gallery. is just seeing Susan again. But I really would love to know, I also get this question a lot too from this show.
Sample lessons, and once you get up in the air, anybody can fly, and
Okay.
the pilot usually turns it over to you. Now, there's just been private planes, small Cessnas and things of that nature, but once you get the wheel, you just can hold it steady, or you can go down a little bit. I didn't do any loops. I have done loops.
No walking on the wings?
I have taken off, but I never reached the stage where I could afford lessons, where I could land it.
Okay.
You can't. No landing. It's easy enough to take off, but
So what I started to ask you before that question was, you have all of these incredible works, and you have sons and daughters. How do they ask you for works? Do they fight over who's going to get the next painting? How do you decide who gets what?
Oh, I've let them all pick out. With 200 pieces of work, I have sold some as commissions. People come to me and have you done a popular plane as a B-17 bomber?
Okay.
Because a lot of children of pilots say, "Oh, my dad flew that," and I've done a number of B-17s,
okay,
which is what they call the Flying Fortress, 4 engines, and that's what bombed Germany.
Yes.
And
so eventually, if they want to work, they can have it.
Oh yeah, my kids. Yeah.
Okay.
My kids own some of these here that are not for sale.
Okay. You know? Okay. And by the way, I just want to
I have given a number away just to friends when I left Cincinnati, old friends,
and many of these works in this show are for sale.
Oh yes.
So I really want to encourage everyone. It's a rare opportunity to be able to purchase a work like this. So please think about coming down and looking at the work and purchasing a work, because these are rare. You're the first aviation artist that I've ever met and curated.
Yeah.
So I don't think this kind of art is easy to get a hold of. So this is a wonderful opportunity for everyone. But I have to ask you, because we're getting close to the end of our time, I really want to ask you, if it wasn't the airplane, is there something else that you might be inclined to do a lot of art of?
Yes, I've done some architecture places, but generally it's airplanes, but I have diverted to animals.
Okay.
And that would be my second, my late wife had always tried to encourage me to do more animals. I would do cats. I would do lions. And
do you have a cat?
Not now. Not since I live with my daughter.
Okay.
Susan.
But could you get a cat?
Huh?
Could you get a cat?
Oh no, I wouldn't. That would be too much.
You don't have an airplane, and you do airplanes. I guess you could do.
I got lots of references.
Okay.
On cats.
Okay.
And lions and tigers, I get calendars. And that would be my next one. I just get going on a plane every time.
Okay.
But I do enjoy doing cats and
okay.
Well,
I would love to see one of your cats. So we're close to our time, but I do want to ask you, is there something that you feel that we should know? Is there something that I haven't asked you that you think would be important to share with us?
Well, I'm a lot of times I'm asked which is my favorite, and of course there's 70 of these drawings elsewhere at my other daughter's house. And they ask me, what is your favorite? Well, one of my favorites is this one over here of Joe Foss, the an aviator from Guadalcanal who shot down Japanese planes with a very outdated plane. That's one of my favorites. It's over here.
A favorite of many viewers has been the Tuskegee Airmen. Many people have come in and thought that was a wonderful tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen.
My other daughter got some autographs for me. But I don't know. Other than, a lot of these are my favorites, but that, I guess, is
that's a hard question for an artist.
I can paraphrase Picasso. Picasso was one time asked, does he have a favorite painting? And he said, yes, the next one.
Ah.
And, now, in a way that can be true, but I'm not a Picasso fan, but and my kids know that. But,
so, Mr. Melvin, I have something special that I want to share with you. I have it hidden right behind me here. So I'm going to take it out of the package. Even your daughter doesn't know about this. So this is a proclamation from the city of Yonkers.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And it's from the office of the city council president.
Yeah.
And it is a tribute to you and for your life's work.
I haven't read the information there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to read.
Quite a lot to read there.
Yeah, it's got your bio. And it basically thanks you for your contributions to art and to, honestly, Mr. Melvin, keeping this history alive. This is an important part of our history, and you're a documenter in addition to being an artist.
Yes,
so I'd like to present you with this.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, City of Yonkers, yes. Oh, I see it's got my biography there.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank everybody involved, and even Frank Sinatra, who we borrowed the theme from, of Come Fly With Me.
Yes.
And he needs a little bit of a...
Okay, so we'll pay tribute to Frank Sinatra and Come Fly With Me. Well, I would really like to thank you for letting me have this talk with you today. It was a real treat for me, and I know a real treat for everybody who's in our audience today. And I'd like to thank our audience for tuning in and for being here with us. And thank you to our guests that are here in the gallery. And just in case you're wondering, both and Mr. Melvin have been vaccinated, and we're sitting very far apart and very apart from the audience, but my mask is right here. We do practice double mask here in the library and social distancing, so I just wanted to stress that because you're seeing both of us without our masks. So thank you again, Mr. Melvin.
You're quite welcome. I would like
I see your checkbook's out. You don't have to pay me.
I would like to show a picture of my late wife. We were married 50 years.
Aww.
And
what was her name?
Janie Jo. Oh. She was from the South.
Yeah.
And I would tell her, I said, hon, I'm the only one doing, this is a Western Lysander. I'm the only one in the world doing this painting at this time. And so...
well, that's a really nice tribute.
She encouraged me a lot. And I miss her.
Oh, I bet you do. Well, we're going to miss having your beautiful artwork in this gallery, and I thank you so very much. Thank you. And it'll be a gallery full of cats.
Well,
depends on how many cats Susan gets. Well, I do have it on arrival information that you can have a source of canoes.
oh,
Yeah.
kayaks.
Kayaks. There's a source of kayaks because her husband makes kayaks.
Oh, I know. Beautiful kayaks.
away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band and he'll toot his flute for you. Fly with me, let's take off in the blue. Once I get you up there, where the air is rarefied, we'll just fly starry-eyed. Once I get you up there.